Hey you. So, do you remember yesterday how we talked about Gerard Butler, who played in The Ugly Truth? Well, that movie really made me think about the other movies he's in. So today we talk about The Bounty Hunter. So Gerard here plays Milo Boyd, and his so the woman who he needs to get to jail is Nicole Hurley, played by Jennifer Aniston. And I hope you know who she is because she is freaking amazing. So if you don't know who she is, you might know her from Friends, Just Go With It, We Are the Millers, The Morning Show, Dumplin', Mother's Day. There's so many other movies. This woman is amazing. She is an icon. She is, wow, that woman is wonderful. For one, as an actor, and from what I've heard from other actors, she is also a beautiful person. Um, I don't know her though, so I can't say that for sure, but I really hope she is because she is an amazing actress. I love that. I love her so much. So the story is basically Milo and Nicole are ex-husband and ex-wife. And Milo is a bounty hunter. Nicole is wanted because she hit a horse with a policeman on it while she was trying to rush through traffic. She's wanted at she has to be taken to jail because basically she's been skipping bail and she's not been showing up to court. I don't know how the US system works exactly, but basically she needs to get to jail. And Milo takes the offer to get her there on Monday, and he has basically the weekends for that. So he's a bounty hunter. I think basically what they do, they get a job to take a certain person who needs to be gotten to jail, and they chase them or they find them, and then they get them to jail and then they get their money. I think that's what it comes down to. So, because at the beginning of the movie, he's chasing this guy who's walking on very high stilts, and then, you know, all that stuff. Um, so, Nicole, for work, is a reporter, or she basically chases the news. And what the story she's chasing in this movie is about, she's investigating a suicide because there's a suicide, but there's something with it that doesn't add up. So she is convinced kind of that it's not a suicide, and she wants to figure out how, what happened. There's also this other person, Stuart, who is a creep, an idiot, and a pretty crazy person. He is, the guy you date once and then can never get out of your life again because he keeps bringing up the one thing you did together. Like, they kissed once when she was very drunk. He keeps bringing it up. Like, they have a very special relation or connection or blah, 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 blah relationship. And she's just trying desperately to get him away from her, and it's not working that well. Which I feel really bad for her because that is very frustrating, and also he's just very annoying. Like, throughout the movie, I know that they made him into a funny person, and he is quite funny because he's quite stupid, but I don't like him at all. Even the funny bits, I can't laugh because I'm just like, oh my goodness, you're the kind of guy every woman wants to avoid. Get out, go away, and don't be trying to be a hero. What is it with guys who are not heroes that they're trying to be a hero? Like, sometimes what the situation does not call for is you. And that sounds very stupid and it sounds maybe very mean, but some people shouldn't try and do certain things because they're not made for it. Stuart is not made to rescue a person. I'm very sorry, Stuart, but you are not made to rescue this woman because, yeah, you just don't, I don't know what it is, but you're not made to rescue this woman. First of all, she doesn't need rescuing. She can handle life perfectly well on her own. And next to that, what is he doing? He gets himself in so much trouble. He's such an idiot that way. And then, I get that they made him funny, but he's just creepy to me. It's just weird. And he fails at every attempt. There's something to say for that, though. If you fail at every single attempt, that's pretty impressive on its own, because it's hard to fail and to mess up every single time. How do you make the wrong decision every single time? Like, at some point, the scale is supposed to tip, At some point, the scale is supposed to go from, like, only bad outcomes to a good one. And he just doesn't seem to get a good outcome. So, that way, it's pretty impressive how he keeps messing it up. But on the other hand, it's just really freaking annoying. So yeah, that's my take on Stewart. I don't like the guy. So basically Nicole and Milo were married, or were dating 6 months, married 9 months, and then they got divorced. And throughout the story, you can see that they made each other crazy. Like, her mom, Nicole's mom, said, "You married a man who made you crazy, and then you divorced him for..." Or no. Her mom says that... I did say that right. "You married a man who made you crazy, and then divorced him for the same reason." And she says it to Milo. She says she married a man who made her crazy, and then divorced her for the same reason. But here's the thing about red flags, right? Here's the thing. If somebody makes you crazy while you're dating, that person will not change when you're married. That person will just keep making you go crazy when you're married. This is the thing about red flags. When you see in very many relationships that break up after years or months, you saw in the first month, you saw the problems. In the first year, you could see the red flags. You might have been in your happy cloud, but through it all, through everything, you could every once in a while see the cracks. You could see the red flags. It doesn't mean that every red flag means you need to break up. Some things you just need to work through. But stuff that keeps coming back is something that's gonna stick. There are characteristics of people that you cannot just change, or that will not just magically be fixed once you get married. It doesn't work like that. That's not how it happens. So yeah, that's one take on it. So throughout the movie, he chases her, she gets away, something happens, she steps on his nerves. They drive each other nuts. At the same time, though, there's this something between them from the very beginning that makes it for them that they get each other. And I know that it sounds really stupid, because bad relationships are sometimes just bad relationships. But at the same time, they do get each other. There are things that they can... Basically everything they can very easily just discuss or talk about. And at the same time, they're like, "Oh, you will never get it." Like, oh, so frustrated, But it's this mix. It's the mix of them being very frustrated with each other and them liking each other a lot. Or being really easy, being very much themselves around each other. Because here's the other thing about driving another person crazy, right? When do you drive another person crazy? Do you drive another person crazy when you're yourself? Or do you drive another person crazy when you're pretending to be the person they want? You remember from yesterday, The Ugly Truth? When you're pretending to be the person they want, you won't be driving them crazy. You drive them crazy, not always, but sometimes, when you're 100% yourself. You can drive people nuts with that. You can also really click with them at the same time. So, it's a mixture of driving them nuts and really fitting with them well. Then it depends on like the percentage. Like, do you drive them nuts 80% of the time or only 10% of the time? Anyway, that's a whole other story. But it's very interesting, right? Like, hey, she married a man who made her crazy. Oh, she married a man who made her crazy. He married a woman who made him go, just crazy. But when do you make each other crazy? It's just something I started to think about. Like, when are you so comfortable with each other that you can be yourself? And then when does the crazy come out? Are you very, is there a lot of stress? And then you, act crazy according to the other person? Or is it just your full personality and people just don't know how to handle it and then they call you crazy? Like, what is it? Is it that you can argue on everything because you're that comfortable with each other, and then it kind of messes up the ease of the argument, and then it blows up in your face every single time? Like, is it like communication skills? What is it that makes people say, oh, this person drives me crazy? What does this person? What happened in the beginning? Oh, yeah, he was so dreamy. He was so nice. He always did this and this and this. And then what? I don't know, after 5 years, like, this is what left. This is what is left. He drives me crazy. And then it's like, okay, where did it come from? Why did that change? It's very interesting, right? To look at that stuff. And it's not good or bad. It's just interesting. Yeah, it's just very interesting to me, at least. But when Milo gets the job, $5,000 for picking up his ex-wife and bringing her to jail, his friend does ask him, he's like, are you sure you can handle this? And then Milo is like, why not? And the friend's like, because it's her and around her, you're not exactly rational, which is very true when you look at the situation, right? When you see what happens, I mean, yeah. So Nicole gets intel from Jimmy. Jimmy gets taken, and she goes looking for Jimmy. And she breaks into his room and then meets this interesting woman with a very fascinating perspective on something. She says, my cousin fell off a cruise ship. And then Nicole's like, oh no. And the woman's like, a grown woman should know how to swim. It was her own fault. And and Nicole's just like, that's a perspective. And I was like, yeah, kind of. That's a very creepy perspective, but I mean, I get it. It made me think, though, of this friend I had when I just started rowing. We practiced the first week and a half. We practiced on land, like we practiced at the rowing gym. And then we went on the water. And the first day, I wasn't there, but the first day they went on the water, this girl stepped into the boat, sat down as the coxswain, and then told everybody, I'm scared, I don't know how to swim. And literally everyone was like, wait, what? You signed up for rowing to go row in the boats on the water, and you don't know how to swim? And to me, that is one of those things like, did you think this through at all? Did you just sign up for like chicks and giggles? What is this? Like, what is happening here? What are you doing? And I mean, in the end, the girl got swimming lessons and then she quit rowing. It was a whole thing. But just the way people say things sometimes makes you think, wait, what? You didn't think this through at all? But the woman saying like, oh, she fell off a cruise ship, she should know how to swim. I was like, wait, what? That is a whole different kind of swimming. So it's very interesting to me how people sometimes don't think things through. You know, how people have, it's just fascinating to me. I just needed to share that. So then basically once Milo starts chasing, I mean, yeah, that's what it comes down to actually, chasing Nicole, she is at the horse racing. She goes somewhere to suck up some luck, and he remembers. And then he lets her have 10 seconds, and then he chases her, and he gets her, and he remembers a lot about her. There are all these little things throughout the movie, like D is her lucky letter. Who has a lucky letter? And is that a thing? A lucky letter, by the way? Like a lucky number I get, but the lucky letter, really? But he remembers a lot about her. A lot of things that her mom doesn't know or that other people don't know. And I mean, I think that is very endearing because I think it's been 2 years. It's 6 months and 9 months, a little less than 2 years that they've been divorced, and he still remembers all these things about her. And I mean, he's not married or has a girlfriend, so he's still kind of hung up on her, and so is she on him. And I mean, throughout the movie, there are these little bits where I'm like, they could get back together, they could be something again, and then one of them does something, and I'm like, that is so stupid. But they have this something, this click, this link, this something more that makes you say these two will figure it out and get back together, and you hope for it. At least I did, because I was like, please let them get back together, please, that would be so nice. Because there was something more, and that was also in the conversation when they get to Cupid's cabin, and they are described by the owners like the couple that was madly in love, like most madly in love for their honeymoon, and they have this conversation that is so true and honest and so beautiful. Two people who know each other's faults and weaknesses and just love each other more. That is true love. That's what the owner said. And I was like, yeah, kind of. But they have this conversation, and there are all these amazing lines. Why can't people just take responsibility for their shit and move on? Maybe everybody is afraid that any admission of guilt would be seen as a sign of weakness. And that's where everybody's wrong. I see it as a sign of maturity. Life is about making mistakes, right? And death is about wishing you made a whole lot more. Oh my goodness, these lines, I was blown away, especially by the last one. Like, life is about making mistakes, right? That's what Nicole says. And then Milo is like, death is about wishing you made a whole lot more. And that hit home for me. I was like, yes, exactly. We should make, and I'm not saying you should be rogue or do a lot of, and do bad things that hurt other people, but mistakes are the funny stories, the lessons you learned, the bits in life that made you think, the things that change you. And I know, good or bad, they change you, but mistakes are important, and mistakes make you grow. And sure, life can mess you up because of the mistakes you make, but it can also bring you a lot of value and a lot of peace to make a mistake and be like, oh, that didn't work. Just learned one way, it doesn't work. Okay, cool, I won't do that again. And it's this something that mistakes do that you won't get from not trying. Yeah. There was one sentence that what was the guy's name? You have Dwight, and then you have the tiny guy. I really like Dwight, by the way. I thought that Dwight was really cool. But the guy he was working with, he said, Dwight, be honest, apart from chasing some guy down, breaking his legs, beating his face to a bloody pulp, you don't get a lot of aerobic exercise. That made me laugh so hard. That made me so freaking happy. Because that sentence is like, hey, you're a criminal. Like, this is kind of your life. You don't get a lot of aerobic exercise. Like, just kind of, how you always take a reference from a person's life and then make your point? Or not always, but like try to do that sometimes. This is the reference. And it made me laugh so hard. And I genuinely like Dwight. Like, Dwight was also to Milo. He was like, yeah, kidnapping is a bit out of my jurisdiction, but we're under new management. I was like, that is how? How is that the point? And it just made me laugh so hard. It just, yeah. It made me so happy. So then, turns out that Earl killed Walter. And then Earl is about to shoot Milo. And so basically what Nicole thought is that Bobby had something to do with it. Bobby is the guy who set Nicole and Milo up in the first place. So, but then Bobby gets shot by Earl because it turns out that Earl was the bad guy, and then Earl's about to shoot Milo, and then Nicole shoots with this amazing gun that comes from evidence as well at him, and then she says, "I'm the only one who gets to call him an asshole," and that's for calling me a girl. And then as Earl shoots at Nicole, Milo is like, "That's for shooting at my wife." And they're so protective of each other, even though they're not together anymore. They're just like, "I'm gonna mama, no, you don't get to do anything bad to this person. This is my person. If someone's gonna be mean to them, it's gonna be me. It's my thing. Like, this is my person. I get to be mean to them, not you. I'm gonna protect this person from you, and then I'm gonna be kicking this person's ass." Like, that is how it's working. And I like, and then it turns out that Milo was just chasing Earl, or tracking Earl as well, or Bobby was doing that, and and before they go into into evidence, Milo is like, you gotta trust Bobby. Like, Bobby walked you down the aisle, and afterwards, Nicole is trying to like pretend it was a joke or something. She was like, "Oh well, it was just a guess, blah 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 blah." And then Bobby's like, "I walked you down the goddamn aisle." And it made me so bad. It made me laugh so hard. I really liked Bobby. He was cool. So Milo then drives her to jail. She doesn't know. He's like, "Yeah, you're just doing your job. We both will sometimes have to put our jobs first." And he brings her to jail. She's totally shocked. She's so freaking angry. And then Milo walks outside and he's like, "It's a special occasion. So the rude ass police officer who was mean to him before, he hits him in the face, and then they bring him to jail, and then they are locked in the same jail, different cells, and they kiss through the jail bars. Happy anniversary, sweetheart. And they spend the night together with the bars like separating them, but still. It was a very good ending. So they had a lot of moments where it could have happened, like the scene in the bedroom where they're both on the phone with somebody else talking about the situation, being like, "Well, it could happen, blah 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 blah," and then Nicole hearing the end of Milo's conversation where he's talking crap, like saying that he's gonna bring her to jail and all this stuff, and then she gets very mad. She is like, no way in heck this is gonna happen. And then, and they, like, she leaves him on the porch. He chews his mouth open, which is gross. By the way, chewing with your mouth open is gross. Talking with food in your mouth is also not good, but chewing with your mouth open is freaking disgusting. Don't do it ever, please. So there are all these bits where it could have happened and it didn't, and it could have happened and it didn't, and then he left her in jail, and then I was like, okay, so now this is the moment where you either make up a way to fix it, or you lose her, because this is not a good ending for you. This is not a good way to do this. And then he hits the police officer and gets himself into jail, and I was like, that actually is the right move to do. And I'm not saying that it's good to hit a police officer. I'm not saying that it's right to get yourself into jail. I'm just saying that for this situation, the best move he could have made, given the friends they have, given the situation they're in, was this one. So I am very happy they got back together. I really did like the movie. I freaking love Jennifer Aniston, and I really, really, really like Gerard Butler. And I'm very happy with this movie. And also with the final song of this movie, which was Kesha's number, Your Love Is My Drug. I have talked about this before, but the thing about music behind a movie, it can do so much good and so much damage. So it's so important. And And the final song of a movie always sticks in my head if it's good, and then I look it up right away, like this time. Or it kind of messes up the end for me. And this one was great, because this one stuck in my head. I looked it up, and now I can dance to it like all the time. So that said, I really like this movie. It made me really happy, and it also showed that, you know, they talk about what was a huge mistake. Was it getting married? Was it getting divorced? Was it both? Was it neither? And you know, it's little things where Milo says he misses being married to Nicole carrying the picture of them everywhere. Relationships aren't easy. Sometimes we mess up, we make mistakes, but mistakes aren't inherently bad. It's what we do after the mistakes that makes it good or bad, or pan out the way it does. And just, if you take anything away from this movie, life is about making mistakes. Death is about wishing you made a whole lot more.